It's 29 CFR 1910 subpart 0. It encompasses those things. You can barely see it. Cannot locate internet server or proxy server. So on the slide, it's there. You just go to your type in OSHA, go to your regulations, subpart 0. Okay, this is the next 3 slides are just a brief overview. One or more methods of machine guarding shall be provided to protect the operator and other employees in the machine area from hazards such as those created by point of operation, ingoing nip points, rotating parts, flying chips, and sparks. We'll talk about those. Moving machine parts have potential for causing severe workplace injuries such as crushed fingers, hands, amputations, burns, and blindness. Presses are what's kind of being hit lately. A lot of mechanical presses were having problems with injuries. The safeguards for machine guarding are essential for protecting workers from these needless and preventable injuries. Okay, continual rate among the top 10 of OSHA citations is stuff dealing with machine guarding. Learning objectives, I got a space in there. Describe 2 main causes of machine accidents. List 3 requirements for safeguards. List 5 machinery parts that pose hazards when unguarded or properly guarded. List 5 types of machine guards. List 3 types of devices used. We'll talk about all that. Describe a situation that warrants machine guarding and an appropriate method of guarding the machine in order to prevent injury or accident. Here's what it's talking about. This is supposedly a big class involvement exercise, but I give you a situation. The power transmission apparatus, those type things, they're maintained less than 7 feet from the ground. What type of guarding do they have to have? Okay, you gotta have a fixed guard. That's kind of what it is. And you guys are supposed to be able to go through the regulations, the OSHA regulations on machine guarding, and determine what type guard it is. We'll go over the different types here. Okay, intro. A good rule to remember: any machine part, function, or process which may cause injury must be safeguarded. Okay? If it looks like it can hurt you, it's got to be safeguarded. Okay? Causes of machine accidents. Okay? You should probably remember these. Does everybody have a handout? I don't think I put this on the handout. Okay.
Under 1.
What is it? Okay. This might be seen before or later. Reaching into clear equipment. That means, like with the table saw, you got a little piece of wood that you chopped off and you reach in to grab it. Okay? Don't do that. Not using a lockout tagout. The thing's not supposed to turn on or not supposed to run, but it does. Unauthorized persons doing maintenance or using machines. They haven't been trained on it. They don't know what the different parts that can cause damage, that can pinch or amputate or crush. Okay? They're not familiar with those parts. Missing or loose machine guards. That's one that is just about any machine shop somewhere you can find an instance where this is or really close to an OSHA violation. Okay? And that's just machine guards. At sometimes people who are experienced at using machines, they think the machine guard prevents proper operation, or prevents efficient operation, or makes it more of a pain in the butt to use. Okay, the table saw in our area doesn't have a machine guard. I don't let the EETs use it. Okay, because it doesn't have a proper machine guard. Okay, it was taken off by people who had it before us. I'm trying to get rid of it right now. Just isn't really OSHA compliant, but it's still sitting there. So you shouldn't be using that table saw, the big one in the middle. Okay, other than maybe as a rack to set things on. Okay, where mechanical hazards occur. Point of operation. All parts of the machine which move, such as these things here and these things here, that's called the point of operation. That's where things occur. Okay, so where your pulley is connected with a belt. okay? That's the point of operation. Where your wrench is stuck on or around the nut, that's a point of operation, okay? Don't just think of these things these definitions we're talking about now. Don't just think of them in terms of machinery that has safeguards. Think of them using wrenches and pry bars and all that kind of stuff too, because the same things can happen there. We're talking about it in machine guarding, but that type stuff happens in, you know, all different types of evolutions that we do. Okay. In running nip points, point of operation, the point where work is performed on the material, such as the cutting, shaping, boring, or forming of stock, must be guarded. Now, some of these drawings aren't that great, but the point of operation, where's that point of operation going to be on this guy? Okay, looks like you got a saw here, I'm guessing. That saw is going to be cutting this metal. Okay, where that saw blade hits, that's going to be the point of operation. Okay, you must have a guard there. Must is underlined. If something in regulations say must or shall, that means it's got to happen. Shall, yes.
Are gloves PPE when you're cutting?
Are gloves PPE when you're cutting? I say no, okay? But when you do your analysis for PPE, that'll be something in your analysis, okay? If gloves hinder operation or lead to accidents or could make accidents worse, then to me they're not PPE. Gloves, in all honesty, if you had some tight-fit gloves, I think they'd be fine around cutting. But most people don't wear them. They wear these loose leather gloves, and where your finger might be here, the end of the glove might be sticking a ½ inch further out and get caught in the blade, and because you know where your finger is, but not the end of the glove, it could drag you into it. So while PPE, the glove has to perform a function to protect you, right? So it might protect you from a splinter, but it might cause more damage from dragging you into the saw blade. So I say gloves are not PPE when it comes to a table saw, okay, or something like that. So it's when you do your assessment, your initial assessment for PPE, that'll be something that your company takes care of. I say no. I would not recommend using gloves around a table saw or anything that can reach out and grab you. Now, if you had tight-fitting gloves, again, like, you know, then maybe possibly, but that would be up to the company when they do their assessment. Okay? So that's kind of a long way of saying I don't know. No, really though. I would recommend using gloves around something that's going to drag your finger in there, especially if they're the type gloves you go and buy at the store, the leather gloves that you got the extra space in the finger. Rotating parts. Need glasses. Okay. Let's take a look at the pictures. These are different examples of rotating parts. A rotating shaft with pulleys with projecting key and set screw. Okay. Rotating pulley with spokes and projection burr. Okay. And then you guys can see where on these things that rotate in normal operation, places that can grab you. Okay. This can grab you. You can get pinched, cut by the chuck. You can get, if this is driving a belt, inside where that belt attaches. If you, in between these nuts, as that thing's rotating, if something grabs in there, it's just going to keep going. Okay.
That's how I lost my fingers.
This guy here? In between one of these nuts?
I had a metal hook that I was using to clean the dough out of it, and it got caught on one of those nuts and pulled my finger right through the razor.
Really? Nasty. That's nasty. On my submarine, underway, you ran out of food. We had a big vat about this big around and about that tall, and had one of the big corkscrew egg beater things and a great big mixer that rotated this way and it spun. And we had a cook that you always wore. It's like a lab coat, but it was just, you know, a coat that you wore kind of clean to keep your clothes away from when you're cooking. And his coat sleeve got hooked on that dough hook, and it drug his arm in there, and it broke his arm in like 7 places. Where it just kind of drug him in there and kept it. Had such a big motor, and it did trip. The motor tripped off just from overloaded, too much current. But yeah, broke his arm in 6 or 7 places. Could have ripped it off. That's nasty.